everybody, and welcome to the newest episode of the Mojoverse Podcast. I'm Mo.
And this is Joe.
And on this episode, we're going to be going through our top 10 lists.
So for now, we wanted to start with our top 10 anime. So we've compiled a list of our top 10 favorite anime. I'll go first. I decided to go with Karekano, or in English, His or Her Circumstances. It was hard for me to decide if I liked the manga better because the manga actually finishes and the ending's perfect. But I chose the anime instead because the voice acting was amazing and all the different kinds of animations. So they do stick figure moments and other 2D moments. So it really adds to the zaniness of this anime. And it was very hilarious. Also, the music was beautiful. My second one is Nana because it's very down to earth and realistic. And there's lots of relationships, like not just romance, but also a relationship between two friends that couldn't be further apart, and I loved it. Actually, it's a very mature anime for adults, and the soundtrack is really awesome. So there's also a lot of bands playing, and you actually get to hear a lot of their songs, and it's really good. So I have the soundtrack for this. My third on the list is Cardcaptor Sakura, or Cardcaptors. And yes, I did a slash on this one, so I kind of cheated. I included Sailor Moon because those two are so near and dear to my heart. Reminds me of my childhood.
Yeah, you grew up with those animes.
Yeah, so those two are some classics for me that I had to put in there. Number 4 is Ayashi no Seres, so Celestial Maiden. This is one of my first ones, actually, aside from the ones that I mentioned from my childhood. I love the story in this, even though she chooses the wrong guy. I hate love triangles usually, and they always pick the wrong guy. But it has a really good story. So number 5, I actually added Kamisama Hajime Mashite, or also known as Kamisama Kiss. I talked about this during the previous podcast, and it actually made on my top 5 list because it's one of the best romances and includes a guilty pleasure of mine, which is, strong male hero, saving the girl, and it's in a supernatural setting rather than always in a high school setting for most anime romances. Then I chose number 6, Attack on Titan. Each episode is really engaging in this with really good action, and it actually never got boring. Each episode was very interesting. The Titans, though, are horrifying and creepy, but I try to watch everything. They should slow down on the deaths, though, now, because we finished the first season, and they're killing off a lot of the main characters, so that's going to start getting old after a while.
I think they might run into a Game of Thrones effect if they keep going.
Exactly. But still very good so far, and a lot of things that have been unanswered, and it looks like there could be a lot of reveals for the next season. My second one is Inuyasha. The fact that they never admit outright that they love each other drives me insane, but I love all of the characters, so all the secondary characters I really love, and I don't mind the dub because all the characters have really good voices. There's also a damsel in distress situation here again, so.
And the fact that the dub is pretty good, considering the age of the anime, is pretty good, because back then there wasn't really good. Well, there was, but there was a very common element of just not being a very good actor or just not hiring good actors. So the fact that you find the dub actually tolerable, considering when the anime was produced, is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is really good. But I will admit that I didn't watch the last season because I thought that the same bad guy for, several seasons got a little tiring after a while. Like, Naraku, just kill him already. It got a little old. But I watched the ending and I am satisfied. So my number 8 is Peach Girl. Another really good romance where the love triangle actually doesn't bother me in this one because it works. It's more realistic to be in her situation where things and circumstances just happen where she can't choose one or it's bad timing. I love that one guy sees through the antagonist, though, and doesn't put up with her, because I hate when everybody can't figure out when somebody is lying or backstabbing somebody, and they all kind of play dense. But this guy he's on top of his game, so I really love it when she gets outed. In number 9 is Full Metal Alchemist for me. It's a really deep and tragic episodes in this, so it's really good, compelling story. I'm always excited to see what happens next. 10th and final place is Digimon, of course. It's another childhood favorite of mine, and the story is really good, but I only enjoy the first 2 seasons, mainly the first because of the characters, and you get to see them again in the second season a little bit, so I like seeing a continuation of what's going on with them. And I did want to add an honorable mention, Noragami, which is getting really good, but I don't know if I should put it on my top 10 yet, because we've only seen just a little bit, and I want to see a new season before I make a decision to see if they can come up with other story arcs.
Yeah, you gotta make sure it's worth it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I gotta see where they're going with this, but so far, I really enjoyed it. We also mentioned this in a previous podcast, so I won't go too in depth with this one.
Okay, perfect. So for my top 10, I'm actually going to start with number 10, and that one is Bleach, actually. It was one of the first mangas and then animes you showed me. I was reading the manga, and then I just started watching the anime, and I really liked it. The one problem is the stories can get a little long after a while, and also the fillers. There's seriously 4 fillers in between each main story episode. So if you can kind of take that with a grain of salt, the story is actually compelling, but I find, because it's number 10 on the list because it's just gone on way too long, right? Number 9 is one that actually you showed me 2 days ago, and I've been watching that a lot, and that's Orange. We watched the anime. It is subbed right now. There's no dub. And I find it's like very dark story elements. It's the teen drama type thing, but it's very dark, and it really explores very mature elements, in stories. The main character is one of the more annoying characters in anime. That's why it's low on the list. But everything else is really good about it.
So we'd really recommend this one to adults because there is a lot of heavy content, and it may be hard for others to deal with. Yeah.
Don't if you already if you already have like a little bit of heavy things going, you need to go into the show very lightly because it'll ruin your day. So I wouldn't really recommend it if you're already having a bad day. It's not good. But the show itself is really, really good. We just watched Ouran High Host Club, and that's number 8. And I was a little hesitant to put this on because it was kind of the same thing over and over again. But I thought the interplay with all the characters was really good. And it's a Funimation dub, so we recognized a lot of the main characters and a lot of the voice actors. They're the same from other animes. So it was kind of funny hearing that. But it was really funny, and it was compelling throughout the whole season.
And the show has an ability to stereotype a lot, but they do it on purpose, so they also laugh at themselves, which I really enjoyed and thought was funny.
Yeah, there was kind of a built-in irony with the show. It was really funny, especially with the twins. It was when they had their little bits, it was hysterical. I was just laughing so much. Number 7 is Dragon Ball Z. I don't know if that's more because it's one of my top anime or it's just because of the nostalgia. Because my friend used to tape the episodes when we were younger, and I'd watch it and I loved it. We went back and watched it, and we didn't really get as much into it as I used to, but I had to put that on somewhere on my list, so I put it there. I still think it's funny. The action's really good. Again, with the fillers, it's a little crazy after a while, but it was still...
Classic.
Yeah, exactly. Number 6 is Pokemon. Again, I grew up with that. I grew up with the games. I watched a bunch of the anime. Team Rocket drives me nuts, but other than that, it's...
we have to start skipping their little spiel now.
Yeah, Netflix makes it easy. You just hit the skip button, and it usually just skips the dialogue, so that's good, but, Katakano was one of the first animes that I watched You showed it to me.
Yay.
And yeah, and that made my list just because we've been looking for another anime like that ever since then, and there really aren't any where they just start dating and then they keep dating.
The development of the relationship is nice too.
I don't know why there always has to be relationship trouble in all it, because it stayed compelling, I'll say, most of the way through with just the relationship. And the soundtrack was really good.
It's still hard to maintain one,
Yeah.
so you don't always have to go through the ups and downs of actually telling them. We like to see what happens next.
Yeah, for sure. And I do have to comment on the soundtrack. It is really good on that one too. So I put Noragami as number 4 because it felt different. There was a really neat story, kind of Bleach-ish, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of different elements in it and some pretty intriguing characters. Sword Art Online, that one to me was a really neat concept. They're stuck in the game, and if they die in the game, they die in real life. I know it sounds a little bit like Dot Hack, right? But they did it a really interesting way. I wish they could have explored the world of Sword Art Online more instead of just chopping it off halfway through. And okay, here you go. Here's a new game, and then.
Probably the first time we complain that it's not long enough.
I know. Yeah. See, first half of my list is, oh my god, there's filler episodes, and they didn't take long enough to explore anything. And now I'm saying that they should have explored some. You know what I mean? Sword Art Online 2 was a bit of a mess. They should have taken the second half of the first season and made that the whole second season, if you wanted to do that at all. The whole thing with the sister drove me nuts, but it's still a really good anime. You know, I enjoyed the first half a lot. Would have been at the top of the list if they hadn't have done that weird second half, and especially Sword Art Online 2, just kind of whoa. But
they didn't need to introduce another game.
Yeah, no. At this point, we haven't watched much of Sword Art Online 2, but even just the first few episodes, that's 3 games in a season and a half.
Because we all want to relive our traumas.
Yeah. It's just so weird that we finally get used to the world. You take the time to create the world. Here you go. Okay, here's another game. Oh, okay, here's another game. It's kind of mind-boggling. And it would have ended up at the top of my list had they not done that, but, whatever. Number 2 is Full Metal Alchemist. Just pretty much the same reasons why you said it. It's light in some points, dark in other points. They explore some really human condition type issues with Nina and the Chimera and the dog and stuff. It was just whoa, and I really wasn't expecting. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that, but I should have been, because it had elements of that. We haven't seen Brotherhood, and by all accounts that one's even better, but we haven't watched it yet, so I can't put that on the list. And with that, number 1, Attack on Titan for me. Is the exact same reason. They have the dark human element to it. We really get to see the toll that something like that will take on people, and you can actually see the reactions to it. Not to mention the Titans are creepy. They pop out at you, and for an anime to make you jump like, whoa, okay, yeah, that's impressive.
I'm glad that they're actually scared of something, because you would be scared with this happening. None of this let's be brave and conquer our fears and nothing can get us down, overly happy main characters. It's actually dark, and it does scare them, and it does give them nightmares, and it was very realistic with the action and what's actually happening, so it does actually add to the scariness in the show.
You can identify with those characters too, because it's okay, we're the militia, we're going to go fight these Titans, and then there's some in the corner crying. Well, that's what I do. That would be my like, first of all, I wouldn't even joined it, but if I had, I'd be the guy in the corner crying. Like, I don't know about you, but that'd be my reaction to that anyway. So it's good to see how the toll that it's all taking, even on the bravest people. And then the is he a Titan? What does the key do? And that kind of stuff. That's pretty cool too. So I'm really excited for season 2 just to see where it goes. And don't write into us and spoil it, because I know there's people out there that read the mangas. We're waiting for the anime. We're waiting for the dub. So don't spoil anything to us, okay? All right, so you're looking at the top 10 manga list.
Yes, so we wanted to include manga in this because just anime wasn't enough for me. I still have a very long list of anime and manga that I've watched. So I'm still going to start with number 1. My first and most beloved manga is Mars. And it's always going to be Mars. I can't find anything that's close to it. I love it a lot. It's the best romance for me. It actually, in this one, you actually have a developed romance, and they both mature together, and it's a very mature manga, so it's not that, cutesy romance. And I got a soft spot for, the bad boy falls in love with the shy, quiet girl. The writing and dialogue in this, though, is really great. It's really deep. So I really enjoyed reading every bit of it. My second one is Marmalade Boy, and this one actually is a little bit more of the cutesy romance. The couple's really adorable, and you don't have to wait long for them to get together, so that was good also. Number 3 is Land of the Blindfolded. So that one as well was very cute, but not in an annoying way. They also start dating very early on. It's very heartwarming, actually, a nice slice of life kind of genre. My number 4 is Imadoki. So you can tell that I'm a fan of a lot of Iwatase's work here, as you can see, because I'm going to start naming a bunch of hers. So this one is also a really cute romance. And you can tell also that romance is my favorite.
Just in case you were wondering.
Yes. So please give me a list of other ones that I haven't read or haven't seen. Number 5 for me is Tsubasa, because I enjoyed Cardcaptor Sakura so much. This one you actually get to see Sakura and Shoran get together. So that made me really happy that they did that, because I used to have to always read fan fictions of the two of them together. Yes, I did that when I was younger. So this one, I actually get to see them together. The only disappointing thing is that she spends most of her time in a coma in this one. But he is trying to save her, so that's cute. And you actually get to see other characters from Clamp in this one. Number 6 on my list is Chrono Crusade. I absolutely love the story of this one. I'm not a fan of the ending too much because it is a little sad, but I also, have tears of joy in it as well. So number 7 is Fruits Basket. I love the main character. Usually the main character can get a little bit annoying, that shy, cutesy girl that all the guys fall in love with, but I'm okay with everyone loving her in this one because I really love her too. She's just so sweet and helps everybody out, and everything she says just really does change everybody's point of view. And I find the writing in this is like poetry and very quotable, because everything that they write out is so well written and thought out that it really makes you think. My 8th on my manga list is Naruto. I can't stand watching the anime, especially with Naruto's catchphrase. Drives me crazy.
And then the acting is nuts.
Yeah, so the manga is a lot better, and you don't have to deal with fillers like you do with the anime. I really love the story, though, and the action, and of course, it's a book about ninjas, so I love it. Number 9 on my list is Hot Gimmick. The romance starts off where they hate each other, of course, and then they grow to love each other, so that is a little bit cute. I do have a hard time with the male character for the most part because he is really mean towards her, but now I find that this is actually a pretty big stereotype in animes, and as long as it's not over the top and then he learns to develop more of a social ability, then it gets a lot better.
Yeah, there's rough around the edges and then there's abusive, so yeah.
Exactly, so there's always a very fine line, and I thought this one was okay. So number 10 on my list is Fushigi Yugi. I really love the romance in this story, but it has been pointed out to me once I showed Moe the story. I didn't realize how often she's always running away from him because she thinks that he'll be better off without her, and that actually drives me nuts because then he's always having to go off and look for her. So a lot of the romance in it is actually, they spend a lot of time apart even though they're together.
Yeah, the romance in it is despite the two characters. You know what I mean? He's looking for her, and then they find each other, and then she runs away. There are some really good romance moments, but it could drive you crazy with the time they spend apart. Yeah, the image that's burned into my brain from the anime of that is her, like, they just met up, and then the image that I have is just her running away, like, almost crying, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? Where are we? Who's this? So, yeah.
But the rest of the story is really good, and all of the other characters are actually really good, too. I really love them, especially Noriko. He's hilarious. Everything that he says is great. So that concludes my list.
Yeah, so what I did, I combined manga and books because, well, I'm still not, but as a kid I wasn't really a big reader. I did read, but nothing that really stands out to me. So I'm going to start number 5 with Chrono Crusade. I remember that was a really good story. You showed me that one, and you covered it already. Tsubasa, again, I thought that was a really cool story. Very relatable characters. It kept me intrigued. Even though I didn't finish it, I was really intrigued because I was reading them during high school and stuff, and then we graduated from grade 12, and I just forgot. But,
there's apparently a sequel out there now. It started with the first manga, so we're definitely going to go out and read that.
Yeah, we have it on hold at chapters right now, actually. So,
excellent.
Yeah. So I'm going to fit one in. I just wrote this down here between number 3 and number 4, and that's Mars. I remember that one vividly. I thought it was, again, really neat story. Kind of that rebel guy, but he drove motorcycles, so I thought he was really cool. And if you want to call it a bit of a soft spot for that kind of story, right? But it was good. I liked it. 3 would be Bleach. Again, the manga doesn't have the fillers, so it was really good to get into that story, actually get into it, and I really enjoyed it. I did enjoy the anime because you can see the action sequences. I like the manga as well, so that's why they're on both lists for me. And then we're going into books. Number 2, I know the book snobs are not going to like this one, but it's Digital Fortress by Dan Brown. I read the Da Vinci Code and the other one, I forget. And they were good. I liked them. I read them actually a few times. And then I ran into this one, and this one is about the NSA, and they have this a decoding machine, and there's this the guy who's trying to put a virus into it, and I'm not going to spoil the ending, but it's really it's a really cool story. I liked.
They always have a lot of good puzzles or treasure hunting.
But it was more. It was more than the Da Vinci Code, stuff like that, because that kind of just took you on. The whole thing was just set in the room where the decoding machine was, and it was just them just kind of talking about it. But they did it in such a way that you really didn't miss there being any other scenes. It was just there. It was so interesting. And they did a little like techno babble and stuff like that, and I always loved that, so why not? Number 1, cliche, fine, whatever. Any of the Harry Potter books, pick them. Whichever one you want, but my favorite. I was a perfect age when those books came out, and I just grew up with those books. I think I was like 11 or 12 when the first one came out.
You're the same age as Harry.
It was perfect. We just grew up, and as the writing style matured, so did we. So it's kind of hard to show somebody that would be our age, and like now, show them the books. But just the fact that we grew up with them, it helped a lot. So we can get into the story, and like I say, mature with the characters. It was great. So that's my manga/books list. I know it's not as extensive as yours, but I don't read as much. So.
All right, so on to the next list of our top 10. So we're doing top 10 video games. I'm going to start with my number 1 top 10 video game, Banjo-Kazooie, and also the second one, Banjo-Tooie. I can't even tell you why this is so wonderful. The cheeky jokes, the funny characters, googly eyes on everything, music that we just keep humming over and over again, the gameplay, the findable goodies, the collectibles, just everything is so much fun, and it doesn't get old. You can just replay it over and over again, and the gameplay is always fun.
And we have played it over and over again.
So we are looking forward to Yooka-Laylee. If you guys don't know, look into that. Most of the game creators of Banjo and Kazooie from Rare actually branched off into another company. They created their own called Playtonic Games because now Xbox has the IP for Banjo and Kazooie. So they can't do that, but they're doing a spiritual successor called Yooka-Laylee, so the title's pretty funny because they tried.
Yeah.
And they pretty much did everything that was great in this one, and it's pretty much going to be the exact same thing with 2 different characters.
The early shots, like the demos and everything, they even got the composer that did the Banjo games. So the music is very similar, the layout is very similar. It's updated graphics, which is really cool. But they really seem to catch that essence of the old Banjo games, just with updated everything. Banjo-Kazooie 3, maybe, but it looks really cool.
They totally understood what it was that we loved about it so much.
Yeah, not like nuts and bolts.
So they listened to the fans.
Yeah, you can't just throw characters into a game you're already working on and hope it does well. So to us, that is the newest Banjo-Kazooie game. We don't even bother with the nuts and bolts one.
No, that doesn't exist. So, number 2 on my list is Final Fantasy X. So, even though I really enjoyed all of the Final Fantasies, I couldn't add them all onto my list or it'd be too long. But I chose one, and that one for me was 10. Not only because that was actually my first one, and then I went back to play the older ones and the newer ones, but because I find this one has the best story, and it is the most beautiful, and actually really good graphics for a PS2 game. I also found that the gameplay with the Aeons were the funnest that you get to use them, so it's actually really fun to summon them, and it's not just a little short clip and then nothing else happens. And the music is beautiful, and actually the romance between, of course, the 2 characters.
I see a common theme going through your list.
Yuna and Tidus, forever. So my third on my list is Tales of Symphonia. So again with that one, I'm really enjoying most of the Tales games. I'm trying to catch up with the new ones, but I still have a lot of old ones to play. This one is still my favorite. I find it has, again, the best story, the best characters. I love that in all the Tales games, actually, a second player can play locally with you. They can take control of one of your characters in battle. So if you need help, like a healer who's not stupid and not healing you when you need it, you can make your player 2 just do it, and you can devise a better strategy.
And that works out because with games that are one player, like the Final Fantasy games, whatever, we usually take turns playing the game and then reading like a walkthrough or a player's guide or something, right? But with the Tales games, I'll usually be at the computer with a walkthrough, and then when a battle happens, I grab the controller, we battle, and then go back. So it really is like not a 2-player game, but like a 1.5-player game. It's pretty cool.
And I did really enjoy the sequel to this one as well, because they brought the same characters that you love from the first one. And in this one, even though you're only 2 playable actual characters, you get to collect monsters in this one. And that's always a favorite type of game for me as well. Number 4 is Legend of Mana. I love that it's actually a 2-player game, but what's really cool about it is that the second player can swap between several characters. So you can actually, throughout the story, pick up a lot of secondary characters. Depending what story or story arc you're going into, you can complete a set of quests together, and you can actually start with one story with the backstory of that character and end it with that character, but you can still go into other worlds with that character if it's one that you really enjoy. So it's really fun to play around with the different abilities that each character has. I also really like just the background, the visuals of this, it is mostly 2D, but it's just really beautiful, just background and scenery and all that kind of stuff. So really fun to do side quests in this one, and they also have a whole bunch of other extras like raising monsters in a barn after you collect the eggs and you can hatch them, and then you can level them up by having them graze on the field, and then you can take them out with you, so you can have your second player and you can bring out a monster with you as well. And then you can also combine some fruits and grow them on a tree, and it gives you items, and then you can actually create a golem to come out with you. So there's all kinds of a lot of fun things that you can do in this game. So the next on my list, which is number 5, is Ni no Kuni. So this is Studio Ghibli animation plus monster collecting, and you get to have monsters as party members. So enough said. Mm-hmm. It's actually pretty perfect.
The graphics were really nice too. Yeah,
the story was good. Good cutscenes, good voice acting.
Well, the cutscenes were Studio Ghibli animation, right?
Exactly.
They were really cool to see that in a video game. And they're working on a sequel too. So
yes, Ni no Kuni 2.
Yeah, for sure we're picking that up.
They still don't have a release date. It's still in development, so we're looking into it. But it still looks just as beautiful. And I hope there's monster collecting in that one as well, because that's always really fun. But aside from the monster collecting, your character itself, you can actually decide to use the characters rather than the monsters. So it gives you a nice switch in gameplay there, where he actually has a lot of magical spells that are fun to use as well. So number 6 on my list is Dragon Quest Monsters, specifically Joker 2. I haven't played a lot of Dragon Quest except for Dragon Warriors, when it was called that for us here in North America. I played number 7 and 8. This one is specifically for the 3DS. I thought it was really fun because, again, it's the same monsters throughout all the series, but in this one specifically, you actually get to collect the monsters and you get to fuse them, which is actually even more fun. So if you're trying to get one monster in particular, you can actually go out and it's almost like completing a recipe where you got to get that monster and then combine them both to create this monster. So it actually gives you a lot of extra gameplay aside from the main story to go out and kind of complete these monsters that you want, and decide exactly what gameplay strategy do you want. Do you want a monster who is really good in healing? Do you want the best who has the highest power stats? Stuff like that. And I actually like that you can actually see most of them running around in like a little part of your ship where you actually keep them, the ones that you're not using. I like that they do an animation on some of them, just relaxing. It's really adorable to see. Number 7 on my list is Rhapsody, a Musical Melody. So this one is a PS1 game, actually very hard and rare to find nowadays, but I really enjoyed it. It actually is like playing a video game that's a musical because they sing in it a lot. But the songs are very addictive. I love them. You can actually, I have a CD of it. You can sing along with them. Kind of feels like karaoke. And yes, I sing along with all of the songs. But the gameplay is really fun. It's kind of like a battlefield tactical game where you have to move them in one step at a time, like a chessboard. But this one you actually get to collect monsters, but they're rather like puppets because she can talk and control puppets. So that's really fun to have a collecting element there. But the story is actually really good and really beautiful and actually made me teary. So number 8 on my list is, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but I think it's Baten Kaitos. This one is a sequel, I believe. I never got around to playing the first one because it's a little bit old for me now. The second one is actually a GameCube game. And it doesn't sound as fun when I say the battle system is being played with cards, but believe me, it actually gets very addictive and very fun pretty fast. So there's a lot of strategy involved because there's that randomness of which cards you're going to get because you can only have so many in your hand, and you don't always get around to playing the entire deck. And sometimes you have to scrap some cards because they're not good for certain situations, or you just can't use them at that certain time, and you have to try to figure out how many healing cards you want in there versus how many attack cards you want in there. So it's all pretty fun. And then certain cards are good for certain party members because you actually have several other party members in your team as well. I thought the animation actually for GameCube was really beautiful. The story is really involved and deep, and you can talk to a lot of the NPCs in this game to actually get more in-depth story and background to this entire new world that you're playing. The cutscenes are actually really beautiful and very colorful, actually. So number 9 is Paper Mario. I love all of the older Paper Marios, but this one in particular, I loved A Thousand Year Door. This one is the one for the GameCube, and in this one you actually get to have your companion, so I wish they continued on with the Paper Mario series, but I'm not going to get into that rant.
That's a whole other podcast.
With actually playing with companions, you get to collect, 6 or 7 of them, and they each have their own set of abilities, and you actually need to figure out which one's good for which battle. And it's very fun. It's more of an RPG, wait time battle system, so a lot more fun. The new games suck.
Just put it simply,
just
like
putting
that.
Out there. Number 10 and final on my list is Rune Factory 4. So I actually played this one rather recently. It's like Harvest Moon. Well, it's pretty much exactly like Harvest Moon, except in this one, you get to collect monsters, and they do all the work for you. So it's pretty perfect. Instead of having, you still have to take good care of your farm. You still have to grow some crops and even collect flowers and, water them and take care of your farm. But in this one, you can actually collect certain monsters who are good at doing certain things. So, for example, if you collect an elephant monster, you can put them on the field where you need to water your plants, and that elephant will every morning and every day get up and water all of your plants. And you can actually see the animation of this. It's actually pretty adorable. So all you have to do is take care of your animals, because that's always been my favorite part of the Harvest Moon games, is I always kind of, even though the crops give you the most amount of money, I always like taking care of the animals, brushing them, feeding them, sometimes even riding them. In this one, you can actually, if you collect a wolf, you can actually ride the wolf and bring it into battling with you. So yeah, there is actually a battling element to this. You can go into dungeons, and even though it takes up a lot of time during the day, which is actually the only downfall in this, because you always have to return home to go to sleep because you used up too much stamina. So there's a lot of back and forth involved, but they don't make you restart all of the puzzles that you've done. You still have to start over at the start of the dungeon, but if you knock down that wall or you did something there, it remains the same, so it's quicker to get to the end. But anyway, there are some monsters that are actually better at battling, and there's some monsters who are better at mining some ore, and there's monsters that are better at doing this. So it's really fun. They actually have quite a wide range of monsters that you can collect depending on what you like doing.
Perfect. So, to my list of video games, it's going to be a little different because there's a couple on here that I wouldn't really consider nerdy, but that's okay because I still enjoy them. I'm going to start with number 10, The Sims. That one, I don't know what, I guess you can, play out your fantasies in The Sims, get a job and own a house. No, it's...
make people do things.
Yeah, well, there's that. I always enjoy building the houses. Even sometimes where I know I use cheats, I'm sorry, whatever. But I'll just make the family, whatever, randomize it, put them in the house, and just enjoy just making the house. When it comes time to playing the characters, I just don't do that. I make another family, and then go to another house, and then make a different house.
So fantasy houses.
Yeah, I just enjoy doing that more, but then I'll actually have 1 or 2 characters that I actually play the sim game, right, where I don't cheat, I buy the house and all that kind of stuff. But to me, the most fun part about it is building the houses. Number 9, Ni no Kuni. You talked about that. so I'm not going to get into detail. I really like the animation. The music was great. Story was compelling. All that kind of stuff. We already mentioned it. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, PS1. I played that game so much. I think I must have beaten it about 4 times as a kid. I had a PS1 and I played that so much. Like, it was so much fun. Like, I know the story of Harry Potter already, but they added some like side quests and stuff, and it was just a fun little gameplay thing. It was pretty cool. Number 7, again another weird one, Roller Coaster Tycoon. I love that game. I play that game so much. My friend showed it to me in elementary school, and I played that constantly. It's so much fun. I just like making the roller coasters, like customizing the roller coasters and stuff. It's so much fun.
And of course, everybody probably did this very sadistically, but have their own little cages where you grab the people who are about to throw up and put them in the pen and have them throw up there. And then you grab them back and put them on your lovely roads, or the drowning, or the making them die on the roller coasters. Don't ask me why that's a lot of fun.
No, I didn't do that, I swear. Yeah. Number 6, Pokemon Gold. That was the first Pokemon game I ever played. And it was a lot of fun. I loved catching that kind of... Pokemon speaks for itself, so I don't have to say why I enjoy it. And then number 5 is Pokemon Red. Just because that is the, Kanto, it's the original first gen. I loved it. I still identify so much more with the first gen Pokemon. I don't know why. Maybe it's just me being... traditionalist, but I do like
resemble
that.
Animals more than the other Pokemon that we have nowadays that resemble objects.
Yeah. I like how a lot of them you can go into their story a little bit more and actually see there's like legendary stories and stuff about those Pokemon, like the great birds and all that kind of stuff. So it's really interesting. That's why I put Red above Gold, because it's just Kanto, right? Number 4 is Watch Dogs. I know a lot of people aren't really going to agree with me on this because it was kind of panned with the critics and the gamers, but I really enjoyed it. It was more of a Grand Theft Auto with hacking elements to it. Personally, I preferred the driving mechanic, and it was just a fun addition to a Grand Theft Auto style. And they put a lot more emphasis on stealth than just walking in and shooting people. I played Grand Theft Auto 4, and then I went to Watch Dogs, so there was one level where, I just thought, I'll just walk in and shoot people. That didn't work. No, you have to be really stealthy and play the hacking a lot and be very patient with it. And eventually, I got used to that, and it was really, really enjoyable. Number 3 is Star Wars: The Jedi Knight series. So that's Jedi Knight Dark Forces, Jedi Outcast, and Jedi Academy. I played Jedi Outcast. It was my cousin that showed it to me. That's my favorite. I love the Force mechanics that you can use. You can Force jump, your Force speed, that kind of stuff. It's never really been replicated to the point that I like it in any other game other than those. So, you level up your Force power, you have your lightning, your choke, your speed. The jumping is great. The next one, honorable mention, it's another Star Wars game, is The Force Unleashed, because that one had the second best Force mechanics. But the redesigned game engine and the AI and the graphics just blew me away. But I still prefer the Jedi Knight series. Number 2, Final Fantasy X. What do I say about that? The graphics are amazing. The music is amazing. The battle style, I love that turn-based battle style. I haven't really enjoyed the battling of any other Final Fantasy game.
Even the action time is a little bit... Well, it's less fun because you feel a little bit more rushed to your decisions.
I like it because it turns basically the game into a strategy game, right? You get into your battles, and then, especially the boss battles, you really need to know who's coming up next. Do I cast haste now or do I heal now?
Every single step matters.
Yeah, instead of just, okay, my bar's full, I need to heal, let's heal. You can actually play the strategy and think a couple moves ahead. It slows everything down, and that makes it that much more complex. I love it. Number 1, no surprise, Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie. If I had to pick a favorite, it would be Banjo 1, not 2. But just the sarcasm, the cheekiness of it. Again, the music is amazing. Even to this day, I get songs from it stuck in my head. It's just such a memorable game.
And you always learn new moves and new abilities, and they're always great.
Yeah. Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, again, we're just ignoring that one because it really wasn't a Banjo game.
If somebody actually knows how to play that game, please let me know, because I played 5 minutes of it and I don't get it.
We haven't been able to figure it out, and the tutorial was just messed up, and we were just coming off of Banjo 2, though, so we probably weren't in a good place to play a game like that, so maybe it's worth giving it another chance, but I really didn't like it. But yeah, Banjo-Kazooie, my favorite. Again, the music is just great, so why not?
Alright, so next top 10, we're going with top 10 favorite TV shows. So my number 1 favorite TV show is Firefly. It has, seriously, the best of everything. It's the funniest, it has the best action, has the best characters. It really has everything. And as mentioned before, it's its whole world. The whole world is created. They even thought about, the language they would speak, the cultures. There's different planets and all the different people. It's really, really good story. And we're not going to talk about how it's only 13 episodes long, because that's just going to make us sad and angry.
But that does make it better to a certain extent. Like, if it was 12 seasons long and the first 3 were good and that's it, it wouldn't be in our top 10, you know what I mean? So, well, it might probably be lower, if anything. So just the fact that we have some sort of common enemy that all Firefly fans just hate, I think that actually makes the fans Fox, yeah. I think that makes the fans that much closer, and then they like the show that much more because of it.
And each character was really unique, and really, we liked seeing their backstories. They're actually all very interesting, and, I find it's the most unique show there is.
But even the bad guys were compelling, too. Like that one guy, that Alliance, the Alliance guy that was looking for River, right? He was a very fascinating character. So even the bad guys had so much depth in their writing.
So my number 2, actually mostly because of Firefly, is Killjoys. It's a new show that just finished its 2nd season just a few days ago. And it's similar in the sense that they are, rather than, renegades in space, they are actually like bounty hunters or cops in space. But that's where the similarities stop. Aside from being its whole new world that they created in this one as well, with different planets, different cultures, religions. They even have their own folk songs, which is really amazing, and you really want to find out more about this world. The story is really different and really good. Every single episode is really interesting, and you want to find out more. So I'm really looking forward to season 3 with this one, and I highly recommend that you watch this one as well. The characters are all amazing, and as I mentioned before when we talked about the season finale during last podcast for Killjoys, I really love Aaron Ashmore. He's a really good character in this one. So my 3rd pick is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So, no, vampires are not shiny in this one. They're evil, you kill them, Buffy puts a stake through them. Everything they say is really hilarious in this show, so it brings, comedy to something more dark with action, and is actually very quotable. I actually have an entire book of Buffy quotes, and they're hilarious. So
Joss Whedon's writing in that, it's so obvious. Like with the quotable Slayer and all that kind of stuff, you really get a sense for a sense of humor, and then you see it everywhere. You see it in Firefly, you see it in the Avengers, on how much personality he puts into his writing and his projects.
And I'm going to tell everyone now that Spike is my favorite. So
without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yes, we ship Buffy and Spike.
Yeah.
Number 4 on my list is House. So because I find this so hilarious, pretty much Hugh Laurie, who plays House, makes the entire show, and it wouldn't be nearly as good without him. If you can deal with, some people find him a little too obnoxious, but I actually find everything that he says true. Like, we agree with him for the most point, and it actually, you're just laughing along with everything that he says. And it's the best hospital drama, I find, because it's all pretty believable.
Yeah, and just his sense of morality, right? It's a little bit different than what the hospital wants it to be, but he's got good reasoning behind everything he does. And everybody mentions that oh, he's so cold, he doesn't care about people. But we watched it again, and one thing that became very obvious to us was that he actually cares more about his patients than everybody, A, gives credit for, and 2, that they care about their patients. You know what I mean? So he actually feels for his patients a lot more than what they give him credit for, and it became obvious that the second time we watched it. He's actually...
He'll give them crap.
Yeah, he's very, very tormented by some of the decisions they make, and he just kind of says, his opinion as he sees it, and he doesn't care about their feelings, which sometimes is a good policy,
So next on my list for number 5 is Fringe. This is a really good sci-fi to watch. Has some pretty believable science for the first couple of seasons, and then it strays a little bit. Then they go into parallel worlds, and the last season I didn't enjoy quite as much. I wish they would have just kept it at 4 seasons. But it's still really good, and I know we both like this one because of John Noble. He is such a good actor. His voice is wonderful. He can say anything, and we'll believe him.
Mm-hmm.
So number 6 is Doctor Who, of course, and I'm going to say that David Tennant is my favorite Doctor. I just love everything about this. It's funny, it's good, there's really good stories. The Doctor is always amazing to watch. So number 7 on my list is Orphan Black. This is actually a Canadian show, so I recommend that people watch it. We did talk about Orphan Black before, so I don't want to get too much into it, but it's really, really good sci-fi. And props again to Tatiana Maslany. She's a really good actress. She actually plays all of the clones, but you feel like they're completely different people.
They each have their own personality, and it's not just on a superficial level, like you're talking about actors, personality of characters. No, we were watching an interview of the supporting cast, and they were saying that they would speak to her differently based on which character she was playing. She was playing it so deep and so well that she changed her accent, her mannerisms, her whole everything about her for each clone she was playing, and that rubbed off on the rest of the cast. And they were saying that you would speak to one of the clones, you would joke a little bit more, and they would actually differentiate how they spoke to each of the clones, even though they were just talking to the actress.
So it's a really good story to actually see, because they are clones and they grew up in different parts of the world, to see the whole science behind the nurture versus nature. So the next on my list is number 8, which is Dollhouse, also created by Joss Whedon. It's a really well-written show, really funny, really mature, and I really enjoyed it. I'm also a fan of the actress Elijah Dushku. She was really good in this. Number 9 is Supernatural. So I really like all of the monsters and myths and everything that they bring up in this one. And there are some pretty funny episodes in this one as well. Number 10, my final TV show, is Charmed. It's a really good show with witches, and Moe introduced me to this one, and I really enjoyed it.
So for my TV list, number 10, Buffy. And again, the story's good. It dies down for a couple of seasons, then picks back up, and whatever. But I just like the play with the characters. Joss's humor is everywhere in it, and it's great. That was a bit of a late ad for me because it's been so long, I kind of forgot how much I liked it. But for sure. 9, Game of Thrones. I have to say, to a certain extent, it starts off really, really well. Great story. Characters. It's good to follow. Then they just kill everybody. So there was a couple seasons right in the middle where we didn't care, but we kept watching it. The newest season, it picked back up, and now we're really back into it now.
So there's a lot of ups and downs with this one.
Yeah, so you just got to be careful with that one. Same thing with number 8, Bones. Starts off really cool. It was a novel concept, forensic anthropologist. She's a little socially awkward. That's great. David Boreanaz is good in it too.
So a team up between an anthropologist and a cop is a pretty good idea for solving crimes.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. New idea. It's at season 12 now. But the first 3 seasons, we went back and rewatched them. The first 3 or 4 seasons were really good. Died down a bit. The writing got kind of weird. But they just, I don't want to spoil anything, but they just kind of brought something back in season, I think it's 11 or 12.
They brought a character back.
They brought a character back, and that's kind of revitalized the show a little bit. So if they can pull off the next season, maybe it'll end up higher on my list. But we really, really stopped liking it for a while. But the first few seasons are worth it. Number 7, Fringe. We went through that. I just love John Noble so much. I didn't know he was the guy in Lord of the Rings, so that was really cool. After we saw him, I became a fan of him, and then I noticed that he was in Lord of the Rings.
He's the king.
And he was a steward of Gondor, yeah. And he's now in Elementary. It's not on the list because it's not one of the top 10s. Still a good little Sherlock transposition show, but he's in it now, and that makes me really happy with that. I just love his voice so much. The show itself, it's really cool science, but like Joe said, the last 2 seasons were a little weird, but you just got to stick with it. Number 6, Killjoys. Again, we've already covered that. They create the world, the whole religion. There's this super soldier serum that they're trying to figure out and all that kind of stuff. It's really compelling. I don't want to spoil anything. Just watch it. Number 5 is Charmed. I know, I guess as a male, I'm not really supposed to like Charmed, but it's really good.
3 female sisters, very love between sisters.
Yeah, but despite all that, still a good show.
They have very good stories. The only thing that upset me is that, of course, because they're good witches, they're not allowed to use their powers for themselves for any sort of personal gain, and they always have to help others instead. But it gets a little frustrating when they're struggling and they can't do anything for themselves. Yeah, the world likes to kind of mess with them too sometimes, and then the elders are annoying, but whatever, we're getting too deep into that. But it is a good show. They actually replace characters throughout. There's one character in particular, I really don't want to spoil anything if you're going to watch it. That was a weird one, but to replace one of the main characters after 3 seasons, that's really hard to do. And the fact that they managed to keep the show up like that was really impressive. If you push forward after that point, don't worry, we guarantee it actually even gets better. Yeah, for sure. Because there was a little bit of tension on set for the first 3 seasons, and now that you know about it, it's kind of obvious. But after that, they kind of mesh together a lot better, and it really does pick up. Except the last season's a little weird, but that's okay. Last season in any show is kind of weird. Number 4, Dollhouse. Again, same reasons. It was a neat story. I'm going to implant memories and stuff into a human being. It's really cool. It's a neat idea. Again, the idea is to actually use people as dolls by giving them a blank memory so that they're basically no one, and you can implant all kinds of things to make them anybody you want them to be. And one of the neat things that they did was they showed I don't want to say the dolls talking with each other, and they're just kind of mindless little things walking around. It's pretty cool to see both sides of it, and it was really cool for Joss Whedon to show that. So you can see how awesome they are, or how just docile and they are. Alan Tudyk makes an appearance, and his character is just awesome. Amazing. He plays it so well. So that is one that I would really, really recommend to watch.
There's only 2 seasons. It ends kind of abruptly because it was canceled, but they did have an opportunity to wrap it up, so we're not going with Firefly here. They actually do finish it.
Yeah, they wrap up the last episode because I think they were aware that it was going to be canceled. So they actually finish it for you, and if you feel that it's still not finished, it actually continues in comic book format.
Oh yeah, that's right. Perfect. Number 3, split between Doctor Who. I don't have to say anything about Doctor Who. You all know about it. You said David Tennant's your favorite. I would agree if I didn't watch Heaven Sent. And the whole thing was just like this massive Shakespearean monologue. It was amazing. So I'm completely sold on Peter Capaldi. So that's just me, but I love him. And number 3 is the split between Orphan Black 2. I've already talked about that. Not going to get into it. It's a great show. Just watch it. Number 2, House. Again, I just love Hugh Laurie so much. If he wasn't in it, I probably wouldn't like the show because some of the secondary characters kind of bug me. But just Hugh Laurie's portrayal of House is just awesome. I can watch it over and over again, and we have, so it's perfect. And number 1, no surprise, Firefly. What can you say about Firefly? It's awesome. Watch it. 13 episodes. It'll just take you a weekend. Just watch it.
All right, so that concludes our favorite TV shows. One last thing that we wanted to add is our top 10 favorite movies. So this is our last list. I'm going to start with number 1, Serenity, of course, because it's basically a Firefly movie that they called Serenity. It pretty much finishes the entire series for you. So whatever was left unanswered is all put into this. Anything that they were going to bring up later in future seasons is all put into this movie. What's funny is that I actually watched this movie before I even watched Firefly, which is a very bad idea because you don't have a sense of who the characters are and how they interact together. So that's really done really quickly because it's a decently short movie. But it's still very good. The story is very good in this movie. So number 2 is, I just said Studio Ghibli because I can't choose 1 or even 2 of his movies. They're so great. I didn't want to not add any of them. But I will say, actually, my top 3 in order would probably be Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, and Kiki's Delivery Service, which were my favorite, but I love all Studio Ghibli movies, so I'm just going to put that as number 2. My number 3, which is not really a movie, Dr. Horrible Sing-Along blog. It's more of, it was done as not even a web series, more like a web movie. I don't even think it's an hour long, actually, but it's really good. Joss Whedon made it. It's funny. You want to sing along to all the songs, and it's super good. Number 4, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Well, those are just masterpieces, so I had to put that in there. Number 5 is Harry Potter, and I know that the books are better, and I didn't include them because I only did manga, but they are actually my favorite books, like novels. But I really wanted to include the shows too because I still like them. Number 6 on my list is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and this is because it's a really geeky movie that I really related to, and I thought it was really fun and lovable and funny.
It's so weird.
Yeah, exactly. It's really good. I laughed during the whole movie. Number 7, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Love, love, love the music. Love the soundtrack. I love the action. It has a cute kind of romance to it as well, but, ends tragically. Number 8, I would say, I actually like Death Note, and I'm talking about the live action that they did in Japanese, so you have to read the subtitles. My favorite, they've made 3. They made all of the series into 2 live-action movies, but they actually made a 3rd, completely different one, and it's called Elle Save the World. I really love the actor who plays Elle in this one. I think he does a really good job. He's really good at it. And I think I actually preferred this live-action movie over the actual anime. That's just how good it was. And the story that they had for this movie was actually really good as well. So he kind of plays like a detective in this one, and it's actually pretty interesting. My ninth one is Oh My Goddess, which is actually a movie on the anime series called Oh My Goddess. Yeah, they just changed the O for A. I haven't watched much of the anime series, and I still need to get around to that, but this movie is just good in of itself. It's a standalone movie. You don't need to know too much of the background because they'll mention it throughout the movie for you, and just the love scenes in this one is just so beautiful. The music's beautiful. The animation is a lot better in this one as well because it's newer. So that's definitely on my list at number 9. And number 10 is Veronica Mars, the movie. That one just recently came out because a lot of fans were dying to have them just wrap up the series, because this one was also canceled after 4 seasons. It doesn't end open-endedly, but you still feel like you want more Veronica Mars. So I'm glad they gave you this movie to see what happens to her outside of life, college, and how she starts her own PI firm, and it's really good. And she finally gets together with Logan, and I'm sorry if that's a spoiler, but it's kind of what we were all waiting for, so I loved it.
The movie's been out for what, 2 years, 3 years? It's spoilers. It's fine. It's fine. You can't worry about those. I didn't really like the movie as much as I liked the Veronica Mars series, but actually neither of them ended up on my list. But I did like the series a lot more than the movie, but that's just me. For my movie list, number 10, Nightmare Before Christmas. It's dark, it's funny, the animation's great, all that stuff, right? Again, Nightmare Before Christmas speaks for itself. Number 9, Dr. Horrible Sing-Along Blog. The music's great. Neil Patrick Harris, Nathan Fillion, Felicia Day. Why not? It's great. I have the Death Note movie here too, but not the third one. I actually have the first one down here because I really like the story. Number 2 just got a little kind of convoluted and weird. They added a new character and it was odd. But I really like the actor for L, but I really like the story of the first one. 7 is Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. The scope of that movie, the battle scene up in the trees, it was so cool. The acting was good from what we can tell because we can't understand it, but we watch the subtitles. But the music was just amazing too. Number 6 is Deadpool, newer movie. It was hilarious. The sarcasm that he had. It dealt with some really dark elements, but they managed to make it funny despite of that, and that was really good. Number 5, I'm kind of rushing through it because we're running out of time here. Number 5, I hate to say this, but it's Aladdin, the first one with Robin Williams. He's just so funny. I love the bits he does. The rest of the movie, the story is, it's good, it's compelling. But
it's almost funnier as an adult.
Yeah, it is. He's thrown in so many adult jokes and imitations of celebrities and all that kind of stuff. It's so funny, and you pick up on more as an adult. Number 4, another kids movie, actually, Inside Out. I wasn't expecting much. It blew me away. The way that they took a kids movie to explore, mental health. It was amazing. Emotion, depression, and how to balance the emotions and that kind of stuff. Also, holding on to memories from you were a kid and losing some memories and all that kind of stuff.
And what's amazing is that they put it so simply.
Yeah.
It's something so complex and so hard to understand. They just made it so easy to understand.
Yeah, no, for sure. Number 3, Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. I have to say it is my favorite. John Noble is in The Two Towers, so I'm kind of torn between those two, but I do have to say the third one's my favorite. In terms of top 10, I wouldn't put The Hobbit on it just because I read the books, and the movie was not very accurate to it. I was expecting a lot different from the movie. They were still good, but I wasn't. It's not a top 10 thing for me. Maybe 11 or 12. Number 2, I'm going to stray from you a bit and put Serenity at number 2. Because, it's awesome, it's amazing. But I had to leave room for my number 1, that is Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. the ending on a downer, the protagonist doesn't win at the end. It was the darkest one out of the original trilogy, and that was never really done before, to end something like that. And it ended optimistically, but also, so depressing almost, with the big revelation from, okay, don't go spoilers on this. Luke, I'm your father, it doesn't say it like that, but that was such a huge thing back then. The animation was really good, all these practical effects. It was awesome. So that is my absolute favorite movie ever.
Love everything and anything Star Wars.
I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I'm a little weird with the prequels as I got older because I saw the prequels when I was a kid, But now that I'm a lot older, I really do appreciate the original series a lot more. And, Empire's my absolute favorite movie. So that is our list of top 10. If you guys have any other things that is on your top 10, something that we missed, let us know. You can send us an email on YouTube. You can send us comments. Check us out at Facebook, Mojoverse Sudbury, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr, Mojoverse Sudbury. Just search that and it'll come up.
We'd actually like to hear your thoughts if you agree with any of our lists. For any of them, we'd like to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. We do this podcast for you guys just to kind of, get to know our customers a little bit more.
And hopefully you got to know us a little better.
Exactly. So I'm all for disagreeing, but that's perfect. And, that's all the time we have for the Mojoverse Podcast today. Thanks a lot for listening. I'm Mo.
And this is Joe.
And join us next time on the Mojoverse Podcast.